Section 8. 35.
Human activity has greatly affected the survival of Earth's plant and animal species. For millions of years, life evolved without significant impact from human beings. As early as the first settlements in Australia and North America, human beings caused the extinction of species through hunting or the use of fire. Since the 19th century, the role that human beings play in species survival has increased so much that many species survive only because human beings allow it. Certain animal species survive in large numbers thanks to humans. For example, today, there are about 10 billion chickens on Earth, or about 15 times as many as there were 100 years ago. This is because so many chickens are bred for human consumption. Similarly, we raise cattle, sheep, goats, and other domesticated animals in order to make use of them. In addition, modern civilizations have unintentionally ensured the survival of other species. Pests such as rats and cockroaches live on the food waste created by humans. Squirrels prosper in suburban landscapes where there are few predators. Even as modern human beings intentionally or unintentionally promote the survival of a few species, we threaten many more. Thanks to technology, hunting has become vastly more efficient, pushing animals such as the blue whale and the North American bison to the brink of extinction. Many other animals, especially tropical forest species, suffer from destruction of their habitats through logging trees by humans.
A. So-called shallow environmentalism still dominates the mainstream. It encourages continuous economic growth and environmental protection through technological ideas, resources management such as replanting forests and recycling, and small changes in lifestyle. In contrast, the deep ecology approach aims to achieve a major ecological change of our socio-cultural systems, collective actions, and lifestyles. The deep ecology approach says that we must rethink our present culture and character, which threatens the Earth. Deep ecology does not separate humans from the natural environment. It sees the world as a network where all living things are connected. It calls for the protection of natural areas and areas of biodiversity in order to protect and sustain the environment and the value of everything in it. B. The sustainable environmental system manages all of nature's problems at all levels. These include socio-economic problems as well as the usual physical and scientific environmental concerns. The environment is complex and has many different dimensions to it. As such, any attempt to resolve environmental problems must also have many dimensions. For instance, air pollution is not just a problem of cars, but also of people using cars too much and too often. People drive for many reasons, ranging from commuting to work to grocery shopping. So a solution to this cause of air pollution must also include alternatives to driving. We could also provide economic incentive systems to discourage too much driving. Or the location of services and employment could be changed so as to minimize the need to drive long distances. The sustainable environmental system is basically about trying to change all of the causes that lead to environmental problems.
The planet is approaching an energy crisis, and governments are spending more money on research into alternative energy sources. However, in the midst of our panic, an ancient practice presents itself as a solution: vegetarianism. The meat and dairy industries use huge amounts of natural gas, electricity, and fossil fuels to house, heat, ventilate, water, feed, clean, transport, and slaughter the billions of animals consumed by humans every year. In total, raising animals for food uses more than 1/3 of all materials and fossil fuels. A vegetarian diet would require only 2% of raw materials. So excessive is the amount of energy used by having a meat-based diet that if the world switched to a plant-based one, current petroleum reserves would easily last for another 360 years. The creation of a single hamburger patty uses enough fossil fuel to power a car 20 miles or heat water for 17 showers. In fact, if water used by the meat industry were not covered by taxpayers, ordinary hamburger meat would cost $35 a pound, whereas it takes 25 gallons of water to produce a pound of wheat. It takes 2,500 gallons to generate a pound of meat. In addition to the energy costs of meat production, it is estimated that 60% of America's waterways have been polluted by livestock industries, which create 3 times more water pollution than other industrial sources combined. The places most animals are kept produce toxic methane and ammonia fumes, so that poultry workers have to wear gas masks. There are so many energy-wasting practices connected with eating animals. We can ease some of our own burden by adopting sensible eating habits.
"38.
Noise has always been a chief environmental problem for humans. In ancient Rome, rules existed to limit the noise emitted from the iron wheels of wagons, which rattled over the stone roads, causing irritating sleep disturbance to citizens. In medieval Europe, horse carriages and horseback riding were prohibited during nighttime in certain cities to ensure a peaceful sleep for the inhabitants. However, the noise problems of the past are incomparable with those of modern times. Day and night, an enormous number of cars, trucks, and buses regularly pass through cities and the countryside. On top of this is the high level of noise created by aircraft, trains, and industrial machinery. In comparison to other pollutants, the control of environmental noise has been ignored because of insufficient knowledge of its effects on humans, as well as a lack of defined criteria. While it has been suggested that noise pollution is simply a luxury problem for developed countries, one cannot ignore the fact that the exposure to noise is often higher in developing countries, where there are less regulations. Regardless of where it exists, noise pollution's effects are widespread and damaging. Accordingly, practical action to limit and control human exposure to environmental noise is essential. Such action is now taking place in Europe, where it is estimated that 40% of residents, or 150 million people, are exposed to road traffic noise exceeding 55 decibels, and over 30% suffer sleep-disturbing noise levels at night. Authorities are surveying areas to discover where noise levels are the highest, and producing computerized maps available on the internet to warn people. The maps are color-coded according to decibel range, from green, the quietest, through to yellow, red, and dark blue. These maps will be followed by EU legislation intended to reduce the noise levels in the worst dark blue areas.
"39.
A. Hippocrates, circa 460 to 377 BC, believed in the dualistic nature of mind and body. He radically proposed that disease occurred in the body and that this process was independent of the mind. Hippocrates suggested that the body contained 4 specific fluids called humors. According to Hippocrates, a person experienced health when these humors were balanced. However, when the fluids were out of balance, disease occurred. Treatment, therefore, involved an attempt to balance the 4 fluids. This approach to health and disease was radical for its time, because disease had previously been thought to be the result of demons or spirits possessing the body. Hippocrates challenged this view and established a physical approach to health and disease. For this reason, he is often described as the father of medicine. B. I hope that you can now understand that there is an extensive and significant relationship between mind and health. This relationship is controlled by our behavior, together with the biological connections which exist between the brain and the immune system. These connections work in both directions, meaning that our physical health is able to influence our mental state and vice versa. In other words, all illnesses have psychological consequences as well as causes. Stress, depression, and other psychological factors can affect our immunity to many diseases, including bacterial and viral infections, heart disease, and cancer. Thus, our mental and emotional states are highly important in the maintenance of health. In that sense, our dualistic habit of contrasting mind and body as though they were two separate entities is deeply misleading.